Good afternoon. You're watching the Take a Stand with Damita Chatman. Some folks call me the watchdog. Some people call me the queen, but my name is Damita. I'm here today with my guests where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and follow us on LinkedIn, I think. Today, we're going to talk about the election. What went wrong with this election? I have 4 young men that was on last month, and we had to bring them back. Again, I want to thank you all. The pastor's going to be coming in shortly, but I have Kip Carr, Robert Dawson, and Mike. I'm going to give me 20 seconds, because I'm not looking for your obituary. 20 seconds, and we're going to move forward. Kip
Carr, former Democratic State Party treasurer, 2012 candidate in District 62, and I'm a political analyst.
Thank you. Robert?
Robert Dawson. I'm currently a member of the executive committee of the South Fulton Democrats, former and future candidate, and also a political analyst, consultant, and strategist.
Thank you. Mike
Glanton Jr., political consultant, businessman, politics everywhere. We got to do better. That's how I'm going to start mine. That's what my
Thank you. As a pastor's getting on, I'm going to put this disclaimer out here. Everything that is said here is the views of the show host and the guests, and not the producer of the show. Pastor Kimbrough, he's coming on. Give me a second of who you are. Unmute. Okay, well, we're going to go on. Thank you, guys. Let's talk about this election. This election, it didn't go the way that I wanted to go. So I want to start with, hi, Pastor. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastically well. Thank you.
Give me a second who you are. I just need a second. I told him I don't want the obituary. I just want who you are in a second. Give me a second. Tell me who you are, Pastor.
Walter Kimbrough, retired United Methodist pastor.
Thank you. Since I got you first, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what went wrong in this election.
Okay, you need to say from what perspective?
Okay, let me go back. I tell you what, we'll go back later with that. Where do we go from here as Democrat Party?
I think there has to be an assessment of what did happen, of what did not happen, and to be able to separate fact from fiction. And I think that's really, from my perspective, a process. And I think there's a lot of stuff floating out there now in terms of, with the race for governor, whether or not men were really involved in any leadership capacity, and I don't know regarding that. Or whether or not the people were taken for granted, or it was a different kind of situation 4 years later, running against an incumbent, somebody who's in the office of governor, and who was strategically, when issues were raised, that individual would do kinds of things that would negate any adversarial approach. That's kind of where I am right now.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. What do you think, Michael?
Well, you said, where do we go from here? I think where do we go from here is we got to work on our messaging, for one, on what we're really talking about and who we're really talking to. Also, we got to go get some young people. You know, I'm gonna stay on it. And now that the election is over, I'm gonna really hammer it hard. And I'm gonna just stay focused on this one topic. We have to go get the next generation. We have to start grooming people. We cannot continue to send the same people into these offices and expect to be competitive or win. I mean, Stacey is very competitive, but you know, our messaging, we have to get better, and we got to roll our sleeves back up and get back out there with the people that really, really matter. People are getting, bamboozled when it comes to voting because they're not thinking that it really doesn't, they think it don't matter, especially now since all those people went out and voted for Stacey Abrams and we caught in this dogfight with Herschel Walker. You know, that's ridiculous. So I really implore my people to get back out there on December the 6th and make sure that we reelect our Reverend Warnock and get away from this foolishness and go on and get our politics together.
Absolutely. What about you, Robert? What do you think?
Where we go from here, and I also like that first question: what went wrong? I think we'll get to that. And
we gonna come back to that.
Yeah, but essentially, you know, where do we go from here? Of course, I think Mike nailed it. We have that runoff. First things first, we have to get Senator Warnock elected. Then this is going to take something like a forensic analysis to really see what's going on. I think I know what happened, and we'll talk about it here. But first things first, let's get the candidates that we support elected in this runoff. And then from there, we'll do a deep dive into the data, see what really went wrong, and take the measures that we'll talk about here to correct it.
Okay, thank you. Kip.
First of all, Damita, I want to thank you for bringing us back, and Mr. Glanton, Mr. Dawson, Pastor Kimbrough. It is so good to be with you again. Where do we go from here? I think that first of all, I think that Mr. Glanton, I think that he is exactly right. It is unfortunate that the first Gen Z candidate to be elected to Congress comes from Florida. I think that we need to develop a thick, deep, wide bench in the state of Georgia as far as new and different candidates. We've got time between now and 2026, when the next governor's race comes up, the next statewide race, to really look at different people for a lot of these positions, not just the top of the ticket, but also these down ballot races. And this is the time that I talked about 3 weeks ago, this space between elections, where we really need to analyze, like what Mr. Dawson said, and look at how we can do things differently. And I do agree that we need to elect some new candidates. I represent Gen X, and it's probably time for my generation to sit down. So,
Okay.
But thank you for the question.
Okay, thank. Now let me give you some statistics. With the Georgia race, white men, the Democrats was 23%. White men of the Republicans was 76%. White women was 27% with Democrats. Republicans 72%. Black men was 84% of Democrats. Black women, was 14% Republican. Black women was 93% Democrat. Black women Republicans were 6%. Latinos is 85%, and etc. But what I'm going to concentrate on was the Black man vote, because the perception went out that the Black men didn't vote, but the polls said otherwise. Do you think that we took the Black men for granted and put the white men on the pedestal? Kip, that's a yes or no.
Yes, and I want to qualify that.
Okay, come on.
I've got direct mail. I don't want them right here. I got direct mail in my hand. Do you know how many direct mail pieces I got from not just the top of the ticket, but the bottom of the ticket? And I'm a black male super voter. I never miss elections. But the problem is, even though I'm hearing that first time men in my family did not hear from our candidates. And that's a problem.
Absolutely.
So yes, I did see where black men did turn out, but I think that there is many more things that we could have done.
Absolutely. What about you, Robert?
Well, I think I want to be clear that, I'm glad that that rumor that was going around, or the thought that was going around, that black men weren't going to show up, I'm glad that that got dispelled. So we're definitely not responsible. Black men aren't responsible for this defeat. Now, I don't guess I'm answering your question directly, but one note that I would like to say, it is our activism in this race probably did, with rappers like Killer Mike, T.I., even Young Jeezy. I think that participation gave them something to hang over Stacey's head. So it's a double-edged sword.
But and since you call out Killer Mike sat down at the table with Governor Kemp.
Yeah.
Mike Glanton.
Well, to me, as a political consultant, I really hate vocal direction. That I may have taken two words and put them together, but what that means is that when we make it a visual effort, like we're focusing on a specific group, marginalized group, that's to me fake. I've dealt with that as a political consultant and traveled all over the country. When they drop us off in a city or a town, we have direction targeting. And the problem is that we don't go back and build that target up after the fact. And we go in and we get what we want done, and then we leave them. And we're choosing areas where there are low income, high recidivism rate, and low voter turnout. So those people need to be heard more often than just once or twice. And so I think with men, you can't, men, especially black men in America, in Atlanta, we refuse to be marginalized to a point to where, we're focusing on you and it's not really a focus on us. This is just the political theater that's going on. And, personally, I don't like that. As a black man in America, my advocation is always towards black men, other black men. It's for the entire race and all people. But I think that we have to do a better job at not only our messaging, but what we're actually doing to bring those marginalized groups to the table.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Kimbrough.
Two words I offer. There has to be intentionality in reaching the black men and consistency. And it has to be over a whole 4-year period of time. So when I consider that I'm running for a position, that it's not late, but it's for the whole term, 4 years. And so it's been rightly said that persons need to be considered now for 26, who's going to be candidates at that time, and then identify those persons, build up the team. And so it's got to have intentionality and consistency for victory to become a result. And also, I agree with the statement that's made. We need to look for younger candidates.
Okay. Well, while we on this, and this is going to be, and it's not to put nobody in the hot seat. This is going to be a yes or no question. That's all I'm looking for, yes or no. Ms. Abrams ran twice. Do you think she should come back in 2026, Pastor Kimbrough?
No.
Mike?
I was going to give you a rhetorical question. I was going to give you a rhetorical answer.
It's a yes or no. Don't give me. Yes or no.
That's almost saying, should I come back? I mean,
yeah.
I think
okay. Yes or no.
Anybody should run for office, but should she come back? Should we just throw it all back with her? I ain't quite sure about that.
Okay. Robert, yes or no?
Yes, I'm okay with her. I think she's earned it if that's what she wants.
Okay. Kip, yes or no?
No. No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What I heard, let me ask you, and you can tell me, and I'm gonna start with Kip with this. I heard that people that ran in this election, they ran before, they never went back to the voters and they left them out there hanging. What do you think, Kip?
In terms of
Like going, I'm just gonna use it. They said that Stacey Abrams, when she ran the first time, she got all these votes. But after she lost that race, you never heard from her. And then she come back and ran for this race, and some of the folks was angry. Tell me what you think.
Okay, well, I think the truth of the matter is you got to give her credit for what she did in getting Ossoff and Warnock elected in January 2021. That was definitely we can't take that away from her at all. So for those who feel that she was complete, I've seen where candidates disappear and then come back. You never hear from them until they qualify again. Now, Damita, you didn't ask me this, but we did have some candidates that ran this year, and I'm not talking about Ms. Abrams, that we didn't know what they were doing until they qualified.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And I think to Pastor Kimbrough's point, yes, I think the conversation in terms of the next cycle needs to be had. But one of the things continues to happen is that people show up at the Capitol to qualify. And I think we've gotten comfortable that we know that Black women make up, I think, 65% of the Democratic voting base in the state. Once you qualify, you know that you're probably going to be the nominee. But I think we need to reach higher. It's not enough to just be the nominee. We need to attract candidates that can win in November, point blank period. If you don't have $100,000 the year before, by 2025, keep your tail section on the porch. If you got 37 cents a month before time to qualify, you know what you should do. And that means, and I think part of it is people think, well, I got $50 and somehow the state party is going to come in and rescue you. That's not going to happen. And and please go run and tell it. I said it. And I think we need to do a better job, like I said, in developing a bench and having candidates with the right tools and making sure that they know that they have to raise money. They need to have a certain amount of money up front if they're even thinking about running for anything statewide.
I got you, Kip, because we got 30 some minutes and I want to hear from everybody. Thank you. Tell me, Robert, and I need your questions quick. So we can get everybody in. What do you think, Robert?
I think it's a norm, right? It's a norm in Georgia. Everyone, especially in the Democratic Party, waiting for the last minute to get out there and campaign like 60 to 90 days out. So we got to go earlier. We got to go harder. I don't blame it. I don't blame Stacey. I think the blame lies on some of the elected officials and lower offices and even the grassroots elements of the party. We got to get out there way earlier and rally that support. One more point, one advantage that the Republicans had is that they had that fiery primary that fired up their base and their supporters. Stacey was there. Uncontested. I think we had another candidate in there to really rile us up. We'd have more passion.
Okay, what you think, Mike?
Okay, so the first question, I've been knowing Stacey for a very long time, and Stacey did continue to work after 2018. You know, like I agree with what Kip said in terms of, you know, she helped mobilize and bring national money back to Georgia. And
I agree with you.
Seen in a long time, so I was thankful for that. Now I'm going to pivot because you know, I think after elections we can talk like we you know, a little bit.
You better hurry up because I'm gonna cut you off, so you better hurry up.
So,
Answer that question and we're gonna move on.
I
What
think
do you think?
that candidates like myself, candidates like Robert, if we keep running these elections, we're getting older. And so that's putting us out of touch in terms of the skill set that we've developed throughout these candidacies, these jobs that we have inside of these political arenas. And so I think that we have to start really, really focusing on maybe that 25 to 45 range and just start focusing on trying to put people in office in that place. That way we can start being competitive with other sides of town when it comes to legislation, when it comes to negotiation and things like that, because that's the whole process of getting policy and legislation done. You got to be able to negotiate. So if we're sending a 90-year-old down there talk to a 30-year-old, that's a little different conversation.
Okay, I got you. Wait, you look, and I'm closer to 90, so you gonna kick me out the bucket. So what you say, Pastor Kimbrough?
I'm sorry.
And I'm closer to 90 than all of you. But let me simply say this: I think that we get confused. That what my will happens to be may not be what God wills for me. Now let me go to Stacy. Stacy has done more for the race, in my estimation, and I'm talking about as a people, than I've known anybody else to really be doing.
Absolutely.
Probably with the exception of Barack Obama. But it's phenomenal the job that she has successfully done on our behalf. Now, is it only the governor's office, or is that the position for her? She has done more for so many of us that it's phenomenal. But maybe it's not governor. There are other significant positions out there where she could serve us exceptionally well. And we don't need to see her run and run and run for the same position and not get it. What is God's will for Stacey Abrams? Now, I don't know if you have gotten the book. It's just printed. April Ryan has a book out, came out, I guess, a few weeks ago. And her title is Black Women Will Save the World. And she's got a thesis. She's pushing on that, the role of Black women. And I don't know, and I've not read anything in terms of Black men at that level, but what's our role? What happens to be our role as Black people? Can we work together as a team to bring about the kind of results that's needed for our community? That's A. And B is, I go back to what I was saying in terms of consistency and intentionality. We can't wait until 6 months before the election or when it's time to qualify. It's a 4-year experience.
Absolutely.
4 years for a position.
And Pastor, you told me to look for this book, and I got the book. It's Where Do We Go From Here? I got the book. I'm going to read that when I'm on the road, going on vacation, but I got that book. Now, let me ask you another question here. Should the Black pastors and ministers should have came out early in support of Stacey Abrams? Some of them came out, the few that came out that Thursday, and I thought it was pathetic. I thought that maybe they thought that she would win and they wanted to have be the stand-up folks. What do you think, Pastor?
Yeah.
Do you think?
One of the questions I remember last time we met, you raised, where are our real leaders? And if you remember, my answer is they're dead. So a different culture. It's a different culture that we find ourselves from the perspective of the church. There are a few outstanding clergy persons who are doing a great job. Now, what I think that needs to happen, and I'm really old school now, is that structurally in local congregations, that there ought to be forums We need to keep that before our people on an ongoing basis. Ministries of the church need to be educating our people about the political process, and to encourage members of our congregation with the kind of aptitude and commitment for public service. And we give them support. And there are creative ways you can handle it. Who says we can't pray for our members who are seeking public office? I always did it as a pastor and encouraged our people to support it. I talk about yard signs. I put a Stacey Abrams sign in my yard so that the folk who pass my house know where I live, see who I'm supporting. And that kind of thing needs to happen in an escalating way. In an escalating way, it needs to be taking place. The Black church is a powerful entity still within the life of the community.
Okay, thank you. Mike, what you think?
With the pastors, I think they got their own issues in terms of trying to get members back in the church. So I think that you want me to tell you the truth? I don't think they would have made a big enough difference anyway at this point.
Well,
I didn't hear the part. Mike,
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear the last statement you made.
I said, I don't think that the slate of pastors that went out would have made a big difference, a large enough difference in terms of that. I'm a little frustrated with the political process and even the part that's including the clergy as well in terms of our communication with each other, you know.
okay, I got you. Robert, what you think? But I'm going to step in. When I see that you have pastors and ministers, and I'm gonna call it like I see it, and I can take the heat. Pimping candidates. I can't see you bag the candidate that's gonna pay you. I call them pimping candidates. What you say, Robert?
Well, I'll agree with Mike. I don't think the church. I think the church has turned out. I think the church congregations turned out. We have to go a deeper dive to the youth, essential workers, families. There's so much fatigue, disillusionment. I'm going door to door, so I'm hearing from the voters. They're sick of voting. They're frustrated. What's in it for them? A lot of Black men are just checked out the process, and we're all, children of the hip hop generation, and that's a generation that's just become detached from this. So it's more about civic engagement, and we got to reach down, get some dirt under our fingernails in the grassroots and bring the energy up from there.
Okay, gotcha. What you say, Kip?
Well, Mr. Dawson, a lot of times people are not interested in getting those fingernails dirty. But what I would say that candidates need to do is before, when they are still in the exploratory phase, or even after the exploratory phase has concluded, and they know that they are absolutely running. One of the things that I did is make sure that candidates reach out to clergy in the areas that they are running. And I think that when a religious leader finds out that a person is running only when they are interested in speaking to that congregation, then there's a disconnect. Okay. So I think that there needs to be some type of relationship built. If these people who are running are truly involved in the community, they already know who they need to reach out to. Okay. Instead of trying to build those bridges after the fact.
Okay, got you. I hear you guys keep talking about, some of you keep talking about the hip hop generation. Well, some of the candidates came down to South Woodton and they went to the clubs. They went to some of the clubs. I call them the booty clubs. The seniors and the voters are not in those clubs. They have to come to the church. That's a yes or no, Kip. Just give me a yes or no. Is that true? Yes or no?
Didn't know that. Didn't know. Can't speak to it. Don't know.
Okay. Robert Dawson, Do you
I
think that the candidates should come to the churches? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay, Mike, yes, that's a yes or no, yes or no.
I went to 5 churches every Sunday, and I felt alienated when I went into some churches because I didn't know if the pastor was going to let me recognize me or whatever. Half the time, we had to go and give an offering. So I was a little frustrated with that.
Okay, got you.
A lot of churches.
Yes or no, Pastor Kimbrough, do you think that the candidates should go to the churches also? Because again, I say some of the elected officials, they went to the bars, the chicken wing stop, the booty clubs. Seniors don't go there. Is that a yes or no, Pastor?
I think that's a difficult question you asked me. But my position is I think they need to go. But as a pastor, when I was pastoring, I did not allow the candidate to speak. As the pastor of the congregation, I recognized A, B, encouraged the congregation to go to the polls and to vote, gave the candidate an opportunity to stand with me at the end of the service and to personally greet the folk with my support, and also would pray for the candidate during the worship experience. These are kinds of things that I did. So yes, they need to be in church. And I would always, with my members, would simply say to them, you talk to the pastor of the church before you go.
Absolutely.
And to know
every time.
Oh, hold on. That's one of my questions. Hold on, Mike, I'm gonna come back. And I was going to church on a regular basis until COVID hit, and we'll be going back here soon. Let me ask you, do the candidates need to go to church, to these churches before the election? That's a yes or no, because some of the candidates, you don't see them until they're running. And then they want to come and take over the church. And for me, what I tell my pastor, I'm old school. We didn't believe in having folks in the pulpit, but the preachers. Yes or no, Kip? Do you believe they should go to church before the election? Come to the church before elections?
Only yes, with an asterisk. Only if they have, like I said before, made an effort to reach out to those congregations. When I worked for various local candidates, I was the one that went to the churches with them. And the first thing that the church clerk would ask us is, have you already met with the pastor? And so we didn't get embarrassed. We made sure that we had those relationships so that we didn't, to Pastor Kimbrough's point, and yes, we went to a lot of the churches that would not let the candidates speak, but at least would recognize them. I think that if you had not reached out to that particular church, I would not reach out to them after the fact.
Absolutely. Robert, what do you think?
I put the blame on the churches. These churches are dry now. And then also the whole community, we're more secular. Like if you go out and campaign on a Sunday, people don't want to be bothered. They're watching football. The half of them haven't even left the house to go to church in the first place. And then we've been pushing these souls to the polls campaigns that aren't well attended. So really the church has some business it needs to take care of, even beyond politics. But of course, I want to see the candidates at those churches, but the churches are dry now. It's not like it used to be.
Okay, but I'm gonna come back because we can't blame the church for our lack of leadership, and that's my in voting. We just can't. Michael, what you think? I need some short answers because we getting down to wire, and I got 4 more questions to ask.
We got to get down to the nitty gritty.
Well, with mine, like I said, I remember sitting down with my team, and we went through. I was covering Fulton and Douglas. We went through at least 150 churches that were in the area, and we picked every week. I was going to 5 churches, 2 in Fulton, 3 in Douglas, or 2 in Douglas and 3 in Fulton. And we would make contact with these churches. Half the time they weren't answering the phone. Then by the time you get there, I go in, I send a team member in first. They make contact. We don't necessarily have to speak, but we don't want to sit in the congregation and don't be recognized. And then now I have to get up and go to another church. See, I was going to church at 8 o'clock a.m., 9 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock a.m., 11 o'clock, all the way to 12. And so, yeah, I got churched. I got the Holy Ghost, I got the Spirit and all those things. I was also out of about 5 offerings too. So
okay, I got you.
sorry about that, Pastor Kimbrough.
Pastor Kimbrough. Pastor
Mike,
Kimbrough.
Mike, I hear you. And I'm just wondering, did you really get the Holy Ghost?
I hear you, because when you're skipping around that much, you're missing the message. But that's okay. I like that. So let me ask you this: do you think it's time for and let me tell you, I need some short answers, because we got to get down, and I want to hear from you. So some short answers. You know,
But
you're not running.
Before you go on, I really need to have an opportunity to say a word about that.
Well, come on, Pastor.
And I won't call the name, but I remember of a city councilman with the city of Atlanta who went into churches, but he went into churches for 4 years. And sometimes he went to sleep, but he would come and the folk voted for him, and there were candidates who ran against him, but never beat him, because he was always going to the churches and the folk knew him. Now, what I would say, Mike, I would want a person who's a candidate to be actively involved in the church. Then that particular pastor would be speaking on behalf of his or her member who's a candidate.
A lot of churches, Pastor. I can't be a member at every church.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I said personally to a mayor of the city of Atlanta who became known as the sewer mayor. And I said, Mayor, you don't need to come to my congregation for support. I'll take care of that.
Absolutely.
I'm the pastor of the church. You don't need to come to the church where I'm pastor to try to drum up some support for the support of the sewers. I'll do that on your behalf. You can go somewhere else, but I got this covered.
But don't you think if pastors had a relationship with some of these candidates, and I'm not talking about Michael, but some of these candidates, especially candidates that live over in my neck of the woods, the pastor know these candidates. If you get a relationship, most pastors are going to come out and support that candidate. But if he don't see you but once and he don't know you, you know, I'm just saying we can debate that all day, because on the flip side of that, I got another struggle. We ain't gonna worry about that. I see you smiling, Mike. I can read your mind. Let me ask you, do you think that it's time for some of the elected officials to pass the torch? I don't want candidates called out, elected officials called out. That's a yes or no question. Pastor, do you think it's time to pass the torch?
Yes.
Mike, do you think it's time?
Absolutely.
Robert?
I'm going to keep saying it. Yes, and pass it to me. Pass it to guys like Mike.
I'm looking for you to campaign. Just that's a yes or no.
Yes.
Because see, you and turn some folks away, just what you just said. Kip.
Yes, and there are times that the torch might need to be snatched. There are times where it just might need to be snatched.
Part.
Okay,
that part.
Got. I like that. Let me ask you this. In this race election right now, we're waiting on. We got to go back December the 6th for the Senate race. Where do you think that race gonna end up, Kemp? And give me a quick answer. What do you think? Do you think Walker or the senator gonna take that seat back?
For me?
Yes.
Warnock will win.
Okay, Robert?
I think Warnock has the same problems that Stacey had: racism, a lot of gossip, voter suppression. Herschel Walker himself is a problem. The voting rights issue, crime, gun laws.
I understand.
It's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. I think.
So you're gonna say uphill battle?
I think Walker's gonna prevail.
Okay. Well, I want you to take me out to dinner that night, because we're not gonna take that seat.
I'm working for him. I'm gonna work. Hey, but it's an uphill battle.
Michael, what you think?
I really would like Reverend Warnock to go out, but if we depending on the people that we expected to come out, that other 43% that did not come out and vote, we're in trouble. And yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
What you think, Pastor?
I, Warnock, but we've got to work like we've never worked before.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a
Absolutely.
question. Do you think right now, since we got control of the Senate, do you think that the other folks and said, the heck with it, they got it, we ain't gonna worry about it? Do you think they'll come back and fight hard for Walker, Pastor?
Warnock.
For Warnock? No. I say the other side come back
No.
and fight hard for Walker.
I hear you.
Mhm.
I don't think that will happen because of what has already happened with the 50 senators already that are Democrats, and the reaction that's happening with the former president of the United States. And plus there's still the projection that he's going to announce his candidacy for president in 24.
Oh, wow. Mike, what you think?
And he's going to do it tomorrow.
You think he's gonna do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
He said he was.
Okay, see, I've been off the tube for a minute. I had to take a break.
Yeah.
What you think, Mike?
Respectfully, I don't know. It's hard for me to pull that one out to think that and I know that we got the Senate. I'm sitting here looking at the how it's split between the Senate right now, but I think that Georgia people, the other side, has something to prove. And they never liked us having 2 United States senators being Democrat in the state of Georgia in 2022 anyway. So I definitely think that they got a point to prove by coming out trying to get Herschel Walker elected.
Yeah.
And they know that he's not for us, period. They know we don't like him at all.
Yeah. What you say, Robert?
They're gonna come out. They're gonna come out in droves. That's why it's an uphill battle. You have, the Kemp and the Trump, the Walker supporters, and they don't care what happened nationally. They're going to come out and they're going to give it everything they have to seize that Senate seat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kip, what you think?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think that a level of them will be energized. However, I think that white women are still energized because of the whole Dobbs decision. Not Dobbs decision, the decision with regard to abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that a lot of the commercials that was played during the general election still resonates. I don't discount. I think that it's going to be an uphill battle, but I believe that our side is energized, will be just as energized as their side is. But Damita, when some of them said, because I know a lot of my friends are from all over the country asking, why is it that Herschel Walker, why was it so close in Georgia? The simple answer is people showed up, they were voting for him regardless because he had that R behind his name. They didn't care about nothing else. It didn't hurt that he was a bulldog and the whole issue with that.
Absolutely.
But I think when the exit poll individuals asked these people, that's what they said. And that's why when you look at county by county where he won, and along with where did Warnock win.
I'm gonna cut you off, but I'm gonna talk. Let's talk about this polling, because I am a super voter and been voting in elections ever since I was registered to vote at 18 years old. And they never polled me. And I heard that they called one person, and when they asked the question, are you white or black? They hung up the phone. Do you think the pollings, what do you think about the pollings, Kip? And it's gonna be a short question. I need short answers. Do you think that they polled the Black community like they should have?
No, no,
Okay,
they didn't. They did not. And I agree with you. And I know of two people that said that once they went that were they were called, they were told we met our quota, and the person hung up on.
thank
They
you.
didn't even get to the part about the race part.
Okay.
So, but yes, I agree with that.
What you think, Robert?
I heard a couple of those polls coming in. Some of my friends, I think they were really polling the swing voters, and those swing voters who turned and elected Kemp, and they have Warnock in this tough position. So I think they were focused on those swing voters, and most of those swing voters went with the R.
Okay, what
Right.
you think? What you think, Mike?
Well, if they're pulling from the same list that we pull from with the Democratic Party's numbers and stuff, then they ain't getting no answers anyway. So
Okay.
that's number one, and then number two is when we're doing this polling, I think it's a miscommunication. I tell people I don't look at polls, because if you look at the numbers, 17,000 more people voted in the governor's race than the Senate race, but Reverend Warnock had 131,000, almost 132,000 more votes than Stacey Abrams. And then so you got to look at those gaps in between and see who are you talking to.
Okay, got you. What you think, Pastor?
And I really don't know of the reliability of even polls. I personally, in all of my years, have never been polled.
Oh wow,
Oh wow.
And let me say this. Right now with and I'm not going I don't want to use his name on my platform, because I ain't giving him no nothing. But right now, Governor Kemp, and I'm going to use his name because he is our governor, and when anybody that once they win, I'm going to support you or stand behind you, because you're the person that's at the top. Governor Kemp has not endorsed the other person. Do you think Kemp will come out and endorse Warnock? That's a yes or no. Kimbrough.
I think if he does, it'll be very weak.
Okay. Mike.
I don't think he has a reason to.
Okay. Robert.
Not gonna happen.
Okay. Kip.
He's already said that he will do whatever it takes for the party. I'm assuming that means that person who shall not be named. So.
Okay, got you. Let me ask you a question. How do y'all feel about them using Black folks against Black folks? Because that one guy, they know he don't have it, but yet they're pimping him out. What do you think about that? I'm gonna start with Robert. What do you think about that, Robert?
Well, he has that celebrity, as a football player, this guy was just bigger than life. And I think it's more about that celebrity. In this case, he happens to be Black. If they had someone with more celebrity, they'd be behind them. So I don't have that racial angle. I really don't understand it. Yeah.
Okay. What you think, Mike?
First of all, have any of y'all ever been to a University of Georgia football game in Athens?
Right.
We are not in there. So he's been pimped for a long time by now, if you want to be frank, from my understanding. And I just don't. I think that I knew that the Republican Party was going to start targeting African Americans, like in 2018. But what we should look at is they think we're dumb. You can't just put any Black man in front of us and think that this represents us. So I see a lot of young people that I talk to, they're acting real ignorant. They think it's funny. Herschel Walker. I had two family members, close family members, I'm not gonna say their names because I'm gonna block them, that text me and said they voted for Herschel Walker. Oh, excuse me, I'm giving them names. They voted for that.
That's okay.
They voted for that guy, and they thought it was funny. And I said, look, what do you think this is? They were like, well, Trump. They said that about Trump. And I said, do you see where we're at? We're in record high inflation. We're in all type of mess because Trump gave us all this money that he thought that he was trying to buy our vote. So I think that they think we're dumb by putting this guy up there. And we should be smarter than that, especially now that the smoke is clear.
Okay, thank you. Pastor Kimbrough.
Yeah. and I'm not sure it's holistically that, but we must remember what happened in Alabama when Trump endorsed a football coach from a major university to run for the Senate, when another person from a different party, well-trained, representing the citizens of Alabama exceptionally well, was doing a phenomenal job, and with the popularity of the football coach. Are we not aware that successful football coaches make more money than the president of the university? That's the top person. And so the former president of the United States selected a successful college football player, and we haven't come to grips. What is his credentials professionally?
Yes.
You
And-
know,
And I like that because I know who you're talking about with that particular coach, and he had all of those Black young men running down that field after that ball, but he said the most ignorant comment, and I'm thinking, but yet you stood behind these Black young men when they was playing for your team, but now you say something ignorant. I say this and I stand by this. This is what the Bible says. Within a man gonna come out. Let me ask you this. Do you think, where do we go here to get our young folks involved in this political process, Pastor? Where do we go?
I go back. It's got to be consistency. We've got intentionality and consistency. It cannot be accidentally achieved.
Okay.
And we have done a poor job of it.
I agree.
And it starts in the home.
Absolutely, I agree. Mike, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Pastor Kimbrough brought up a good point. Why aren't they focusing on Herschel Walker's professional career? Where is it? That should be something that they should splatter across all these $10 million worth of messages in the next month. I think that we have to start finding young ambassadors that are already in the political arena, that are well-versed and well-knowledgeable in the political arena, to be able to start using those as representatives for the youth movement that we need to erect as a political base. And so we got to start getting some of these, young candidates. We got to stop alienating people. We got to start allowing them to structurally go out and start bringing some of the more youth in, because have you looked at the youth these days? Some of them have good parents, like, some of us or whatever, but some of them are completely misguided and don't have an inch of getting back on track at all. So we have to be intentional, like Pastor Kimbrough said, and serious, honest, and transparent with them when we go out and ask them to get involved.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yeah, I think it's our own fault as a Democratic Party. A lot of our leaders, they're paranoid, they're cutthroat. They don't want to see the rise of young contenders against them, and so you're losing the youth. I also think it's messaging, as Mike mentioned earlier. This woman's reproductive right issue and abortion, it was the wrong issue and the right issue for the Democratic Party. It was a wrong issue for us, the right issue for the Republicans, and those swing voters decided to fade. We also have to be more civic and less political. And I guess my last thing on that issue is the youth. They're looking for an aspirational message. They want jobs, they want homes, condos, small businesses, education that doesn't put them in debt. So while we're focusing solely on women's reproductive rights, if we focus on these aspirational issues, we'll catch the attention of our youth. Right now, their attention is all those guys that Fonnie is prosecuting right now. They have their attention and they're feeding them those messages.
Okay, thank you. Kip.
Okay, and I need a little extra time because I got skipped from the last question, but
Okay, I'm sorry.
So let me just say that as the first African American to be a young Democrat president in Southern Kentucky, I understand very clearly what we must do. The other side, Damita, has done a very good job in developing leaders from a very young age. I remember former Governor Perdue in his reelection team, in his brain trust, you had 6 people that were all under the age of 40, okay? On our side, we're told this is not your cycle yet. And it is time to stop that nonsense.
I agree.
We need to develop them very early. I agree. Mr. Glanton said, I think that's exactly what we should do. We need to be intentional about developing this bench that I keep talking about. And this is the time that we need to do that. And I think that we haven't really, the other thing, and we haven't discussed this, is that the reason that the red tsunami turned out to be a drip was because of the young vote throughout the country. Gen Z showed up in New York State. They showed up in California. They showed up in Arizona. And if Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House by only a handful of votes, we got Gen Z to thank for it.
Yeah, and we can't. And I say we can't count out the young folks. We finna get down to a closing. I'm going to say I want to thank all you guys. I can sit here all day and talk to you about this. Thank you. You guys have some great ideas, and I stand by what I said. It's time for some of the ones that's been down at the Georgia, under the Georgia Dome, to pass the torch. Don't wait until we get in a predicament like with John Lewis. Start grooming your folks now. And another thing, what I'm going to say, elected officials, when you get in office and before you get elected, we got to stop this cutthroat. You want puppets. We got to cut it out. So in closing, Kim, give me your closing statement. We got 5 minutes and I want everybody to speak real quick. Give me your closing.
Well, first of all, thank you, Damita. This has been a great opportunity. I just want to say very, very, very briefly that candidates, when they fail to define themselves clearly, their opponents will do it for them. That's the first thing. The second thing is we got to stop this hero worshiping of certain candidates. Once the election was over, I saw so many people saying, oh, we're so sorry, Ms. Abrams, and that you weren't elected. But what about those other candidates? I didn't see anybody saying, we're sorry, Tabitha Johnson Green, for running. We're sorry to Keita Hemingway. You know, what's up with that? And so we've got to stop this hero worshiping. We need to understand that we need to have quality candidates. And I'm going to keep talking about that. Let me just say very briefly, I do a Sunday talk on my page.
We got to cut you off.
And we'll keep that conversation going. So follow me on my page.
I got Robert. Thank you, Kip. Robert.
Yeah, I want to say it wasn't all bad news. Let's look at the bright side. You know, we picked up 2 seats in the state house, 1 seat in the state Senate, even after this redistricting. You got Lydia Glaze, you got Tish Nagise, you got Tanya Miller, even hats off to William Bodie, Jen Jordan. But there's a void now. We're going to fill it. We're going to work hard. So it's not all bad news. I know Black women feel like they feel like they got punched in the gut because Stacey didn't win, but there's so much good news that came out of that. Let's regroup. Let's get Warnock reelected. District 7, City of South Fulton, there's a runoff. Let's pay attention to that. And let's come back to number 6.
Thank you, Robert. Mike.
Yes.
Mike.
First of all, I want to thank WCEG and thank Ms. Chatman for on the side again. I want to thank Mr. Carr and Pastor Kimbrough and my friend Robert Dawson for and Miss Penny for just this opportunity. I'm just thankful for being back out here. It was fun, but I want to leave you with this and saying that you know, we have to take a conscientious effort, you know, to be able to do better. I know that we often get, you know, frustrated and discouraged, you know, when we don't win, but we had a lot of slate of good candidates. So I think that we put those candidates together or start reaching out to each other and just form some type of regional candidacy so that we all can be on the same point. And once we get elected, we start making things happen regionally and not just in our own sector.
I like that. Pastor.
Amen. Let me say three things very briefly. One is thanks to everyone who's participated and for all who have been responsible for making it happen. Secondly, I wanted to simply say of the great idea in terms of the good news, we need to make sure the good news is packaged and we share that good news with everyone. And because if we fail to share it, then it's lost. The third thing is that we have not mentioned at all the fatigue that resulted from the consumer with all of the commercials.
Mm.
We were commercialized to death. In my household, we started muting it.
You're right.
Emails, Pastor. Don't forget my emails.
Look, that money and power, in those commercials. Do you think that, and this is a yes or no, should there be a cap on commercials? That's a yes or no. While we got 2 minutes. Kip, do you think there should be a cap on commercial? Okay, Robert, yes or no?
I think we're going to see more and more of them.
Okay. Glad.
Now, my emails, that's it. Just cap my emails. That's all.
Okay. Pastor.
No, I don't think we can afford it.
Okay. Do you think we got 1 minute? Do you think we should do a cap on campaigning spending? Yes or no, Kip?
From outside secret groups, yes.
Okay. Robert.
Absolutely.
Mike.
I don't think that can happen with the political action committee set up. No, I don't think that can happen. No, we should not cap it.
Okay. Pastor.
I think that gets to be testy.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you guys. I can be here all day with you. Thank you for joining me today. Let's get the election start November the 28th until
27th.
27th.
So, yeah, Sunday the 27th will be the first day of the
Okay,
runoff voting.
November 27th is the first day. That's a Sunday. And let's get Senator Warnock back in there, early voting, and then we go into voting December the 6th. We got District 7 for the city of South Fulton, and we have Senator Warnock statewide. Let's make it happen. Let's get those people back in office. Get Senator Warnock back in office and the candidate of your choice of the city of South Fulton. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out and just doing what you do. I had a whole lot of questions. We can be here all day. Kip, I'm going to tune in to you. And let's start. Let me say this. Kip, Robert, and Mike, let's start strategizing to get the young folks out. We can start right now and get this thing done. And if you're running for office, that's another conversation. But let's start educating these people, because the young folks I see and talk to, they don't want to vote. Again, I want to thank you so much. We got 2 minutes after. So again, I want to thank you. She got your pictures. Look for your YouTube shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Make sure y'all
Thank
get
you.
the family members to go
Thank
vote.
you. Peace and power.
Thank you.